Hello again, and welcome to episode 6 of the Hidden Sidings project. This time, covering up the first of the surface-mounted point motors, and later, building half a footbridge. The point motor to be disguised is this one, which is at the entrance to what will be goods sidings for an industrial area. Because of its position, I'm going to cover it with a signal box. I want the rear of my layout to have a sort of retro feel to it, and to hark back affectionately to when I first started railway modelling, all those years ago. Back then, most of my buildings were constructed from card kits, and I wanted to do the same this time. It will also afford an interesting visual contrast to the front half of the layout, where all the buildings are made from plastic. I am using mainly Metcalfe kits, and very good they are too. This one is a GWR signal box. These first shots show a partially completed kit posed in position on the layout to see if it fits. It does, just. My point motor has a Pico accessory switch stuck firmly on top of it, which I tried to remove without any obvious success, so I left it on. At this point, and rather late in the day, I realised there would therefore need to be a rather large hole in the middle of the floor. This was cut out after the box had been semi-assembled, hence the rather odd, jagged shape. At this stage, and unusually for me, before the box was completed, I decided to add an interior to it. This is also a Metcalfe kit, and luckily for me they very thoughtfully included several rugs and carpets, just right for covering up that great big hole in the middle of the floor. There are also chairs, a stove, a table, track diagram boards and 2 lever frames. I only use one as my box will only control a couple of sidings and maybe a signal or 2. The final touch is a crossing gate wheel, which I have included as I am going to put a gate across the private sidings to the industrial area. The signal box was completed much as Metcalfe models intended and placed on the layout. As usual, I dispensed with the paper chimney pots supplied in the kit and made my own from 4.8mm plastic tube. I say completed, but I really should try to disguise the large cutouts on the lower front of the box. The point rodding does emerge correctly where it should, but it's rather overscale, necessitating in a large hole. A name board was required, and tunnel siding signal box suddenly suggested itself and seemed rather apt given the signal box's location. GWR signal boxes used white letters on a black background, so an appropriate board was made out of paper using Microsoft PowerPoint. To be strictly accurate, the board should have a white border around it, but this meant that the letters came out too small and couldn't be read properly, so it was left off. In my mind, the terraced houses at the right-hand end of the layout were built by the mill and brewery owners for their workers. They provided a small footbridge as a means of making it easier for their employees to get to work. Were they caring employers, or just ensuring that no one got to work late? Anyway, A Hornby footbridge was hacked about, and these shots show what might loosely, and rather grandly, be called a proof of concept to see if the idea might actually work. Luckily, and rather surprisingly, the reduced footbridge fitted in the space available almost perfectly. Although the bottom step is a bit close to one of the sidings, the small wooden timber batten peeking out near the rear of the baseboard has had some stonework added and the completed half footbridge placed in position. It has not been fixed down at this point, as there is a mini back scene to be fitted behind it. I'm unsure whether all this bodgeling improves or detracts from this area of the layout, but the footbridge, or maybe I should just call it steps, is certainly a bit different. I think I like it, and it certainly links the town and industrial areas rather well, which was the reason for building it in the first place. And so far, it's the only non-Metcalfe building on the layout. Anyway, that's all for now. I have a mini back scene to produce. So, see you next time.